Let's make this quick. 4 words that Meghan Markle uttered before entering an Australian children's hospital for the grossest royal stunt I have ever seen.
This is not a royal tour. 2 private citizens pretending they're the king and queen of California. It is just bizarre.
This is not right. Using children at death's door to try to rehabilitate 2 bullies, the image of 2 bullies, that is absolutely sickening.
I make the most these shows family friendly, but this time I'm going to say it. F*** you, Meghan and Harry, the sausages. F*** you and whatever you were pretending and posing here. I've seen you doing some shit, but nothing quite like this.
This child is clearly looking around at the cameras as they are flashing. If he had any common sense, referring to Harry, he would see the child was done and tell the parent to get them out of there. How pathetic they are. This makes me mad. Look at this.
A 4-year-old named Lily was waiting for chemotherapy this morning. She didn't know her ward was about to become a film set. The nurses did, the pool photographers did, and the woman who walked through those doors wearing what most royal jewelry trackers identify as Princess Diana's gold Cartier watch, to the exact same hospital Princess Diana visited in 1985, definitely did. This is what staff at Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne watched today.
My source, who works within the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, has revealed that when Meghan arrived, she said, "Let's make this quick." And as my source told me, such a humanitarian, not. Then the acting started. Acting of her pretending to care.
April 14th, 2026. Not a private comfort visit, not a quiet bedside moment. A 90-minute, fully choreographed, fully photographed production that ended right on schedule for the next stop on a 4-day commercial tour.
Children were arranged in common areas for the walkthrough, all of them neatly arranged as props.
And before you say, well, at least she showed up, hold on. We need to talk about what showing up actually looked like inside that ward. I've watched a lot of these visits. I've sat through Diana footage from the 80s. I've watched Catherine spend an hour at a hospice without a single post shot. What happened in Melbourne today wasn't charity, it was content.
Catherine would arrive quietly, sit on the floor with the children at their level, and the published photos would show her engaging with them and not the other way around. The children were not arranged for Catherine. Catherine went to the children, and that distinction tells you everything about the difference between service and spectacle.
The watch wasn't a tribute, it was a costume choice. And the children, Lily, an 8-year-old named Anwara with spinal muscular atrophy, a 15-year-old leukemia patient named Joseph, a 17-year-old named Hamish, they weren't the point of the visit. They were the production design. That's a hard sentence, I know, but hospital staff who actually work that ward don't get to say it out loud, so I will.
They wheeled children out of their hospital rooms to be there, and then they put a rope around it that was only removed for pictures. But when they were not being pictured with Harry and Meghan Markle, their rope was there. I have never seen anything like that. I've been around, even the Queen did not have ropes. People were just normally standing there, but no. Harry and Meghan demanded that the rope be put there so there would be a distance between the princess, because that's another thing that you don't know about. Meghan Markle demanded to be called Princess Meghan during the entire trip. Not even Duchess of Sussex, but Her Royal Highness Princess Meghan Markle.
Picture the morning from inside the building. Pool photographers were positioned before Meghan walked in. Patient consents had been arranged days in advance. The route through the wards, adolescent oncology, then the therapeutic garden, then rehabilitation, was mapped out like a film schedule. Because that's what it was. 90 minutes inside, significantly over schedule, every published source confirms it.
Lining children up like that, who are very, very sick in a hospital, is revolting. But look at this. The children know. They always know. These kids don't want a bar of Meghan Markle. And can you blame them after their parents allowed them to be put on display like that?
GB News, LBC, Hello Magazine, the Australian Wire reports. The Duchess moved through the spaces the way a runway model moves through a fashion show. Hand on the arm, lean in for the photo. Smile held for 3 beats. Move on. The patients aren't actors. The hospital is real. The illness is real. None of that is the problem. The problem is what surrounded the moment.
They pursued an appearance, just like Harry in Canada, pursued an appearance at a venue that has history with Queen Elizabeth II. That was intentional, that children's hospital, to force that royal proximity. I think there's something very sinister about using dying children and the homeless as props to try to salvage what's left of your brand. It's truly vile.
The camera angles, the wardrobe coordination, the Karen G. Navy Priscilla dress at a documented 1,250 Australian dollars, the Dior pumps, the real fine gold heart-shaped earrings, the Cartier bracelet on the other wrist. A children's cancer ward should not look this art-directed. Look.
Who is the visit for? Is it for them or is it for the photographs? Because if it's for them, you do not need $30,000 on your body to hand someone a plate of frittata. You just need to show up.
I'm sorry, but this genuinely bothers me. When Catherine visits a children's ward, you don't notice the outfit. You notice the kid. When Diana sat with HIV patients in 1991, the photos that survived weren't fashion plates. They were grief. Today's photos out of Melbourne look like a Vogue shoot with cancer in the background. And there's a reason for that. Because this woman has been treating every public appearance as a brand deployment since 2018. The hospital was the backdrop. The kids were the lighting setup. And the gold watch on her wrist was the punctuation mark on the whole performance.
What's happening with Harry and Meghan? You know what's happening. They've got their PR team, last year or so no doubt, on the phone, desperately phoning places, organisations, people in Australia saying, please can Harry and Meghan come and visit you for photo ops? Australians go, yeah, okay then. So in other words, there's all this effort going into creating something that is totally false.
Here's the detail that ties this whole thing together. And the staff at Royal Children's Hospital almost certainly noticed it, because the comparison is impossible to miss. Princess Diana visited that exact same hospital in October 1985 with Prince Charles. She sat with sick children for hours. She took her gloves off, a small thing, a deliberate thing to make ill kids feel less like exhibits. The footage exists, the photos exist. They're in the BBC archive. 41 years later, Meghan walked through the same doors wearing what most royal jewelry watchers identify as Diana's actual yellow gold Cartier Tank Française watch.
She's just desperate for the positive headlines. Just like the way she was crawling all over Ted Sarandos and his wife at the party, melting, holding their hands, dripping all over them in those photographs.
The watch's story is its own scandal. According to Paul Burrell, Diana's former butler, William originally chose this watch as a keepsake after his mother's death. Harry chose her sapphire engagement ring. In 2009, the brothers swapped. William took the ring to propose to Catherine. Harry got the watch. And later, Harry gave the watch to Meghan. Now, is that account fully confirmed? No. Harry's memoir Spare doesn't mention the swap. Burrell has stated it publicly several times, but the Sussex side has never directly confirmed or denied it. What we do know is Meghan has worn that watch as a staple accessory since around July 2020. So either it is Diana's or her PR has spent 5 years letting the press call it Diana's without a single correction. Pick one. Both options are bad.
Underneath that apron was a Karen G. Navy dress worth at 1,250 Australian dollars. On her feet, Dior Essence pumps in black leather. On her wrist, Princess Diana's Cartier Tank Française watch, a piece valued conservatively in the range of $20,000 to $30,000. And she added a Cartier lover bracelet and a pair of real fine studio puffy heart earrings in yellow gold at $780. So by any reasonable estimate, she walked into a shelter for women who have nothing, wearing north of $30,000 in jewelry and designer clothing.
Honestly, I think it's worse than people realize. Wearing the watch on a normal day is one thing. Wearing it on a sponsored commercial trip to Australia, to the exact hospital Diana made famous with her bedside warmth, and then doing 90 minutes of choreographed photos in front of pool photographers, that's not a tribute to Diana. That's costume work, and the silence from Sussex PR over 5 years of Diana's watch headlines tells me what I need to know. I've watched that watch on her wrist for 4 years now. Every public appearance, there it is. And every time, the message is the same. I am her. I deserve what she had. Look at the wrist, not the woman. This is the part of today's visit that broke the internet, and the line that did it didn't come from me. It came from royal biographer Angela Levin, a woman who's covered the family since the 80s, written authorized biographies of King Charles, knows the players personally. Levin watched today's footage and posted one sentence that's been republished across AOL, Daily Mail comments, and half the British commentary circuit. She won't let her children be seen, but pushes ill children into daylight so she can have a picture taken of herself being so caring.
So nothing screams I'm a humanitarian and I care about children by rocking up to a children's hospital and treating it like Studio 54. Perch and Twerch, are you listening? Of course you are, you pathetic little numpties. You disgust me. You show up at a children's hospital and line up the children that are there because they are ill in front of photographers. You used their pain, their illnesses, and their exhaustion in order to elevate and promote yourselves, just like you did at the fires in LA, just like you did at Uvalde, just like you've done at Invictus. The list goes on. I could sit here and say you're disgusting, vile, self-absorbed, self-entitled, and self-obsessed, but what would be the point? I could say read the room, but I'm not going to. Why? You couldn't read the room even if it came with bloody subtitles.
That sentence is the spine of this whole story, because it's true, and it's documented. Archie and Lilibet, Meghan's own kids, have been kept almost entirely out of public view since 2020. We've seen them maybe a dozen times. Birthday cards, Christmas cards, brief Netflix moments curated to the second. Privacy is the brand. Privacy is the entire pitch. But sick 4-year-old Lily got photographed today. So did 8-year-old Inawara. So did 15-year-old Joseph. So did 17-year-old Hamish, a teenager mid-cancer treatment whose face is now circulating on Royal Watcher accounts worldwide.
Now, the Duke and Duchess of Privacy are not going to get a welcome reception here this week after they disrespected this country, disrespected the Queen, and the entire royal family. We don't want you here, Meghan, and we don't want you here, Harry, because Australia welcomed the newly married Duke and Duchess with open arms 8 years ago. And you'll recall this was the trip that they announced they were pregnant with their first child. Thousands lined the streets to greet them. They were treated like rock stars. We adored them, and they shoved it back in our faces because they hated the trip and then left the royal family. So don't expect a welcome reception this week, as I said, this is another phony royal tour.
Let me say this plainly, because I'm done dancing around it. You cannot claim privacy for your own children and then use other people's sick children as marketing material. That's not charity. That's not awareness work. That's exploitation with a Cartier on the wrist. And the nurse who watched her own 4-year-old patient become a backdrop today, she can't say that out loud because she'd lose her job. So I'll say it for her. If your privacy matters but theirs doesn't, you don't actually believe in privacy. You believe in access control. And you control access to anything that makes you look bad.
This is not a tour. This is a business trip of 2 private citizens who are exploiting their royal titles and their half in and half out.
Here's where the math gets ugly, because today's hospital visit wasn't a standalone moment. It was day 1. The 4-day Australian visit is a privately funded commercial tour. Day 1, Melbourne, the hospital plus a women's shelter, free media, sympathetic optics, the we still care about charity warm-up. Day 2, Canberra, the Australian War Memorial, Veterans Angle, credibility laundering. Day 3, back to Melbourne, Aboriginal community visit, Batter mental health charity, and Harry's keynote at the Inner Edge Summit, a paid speaking gig reportedly worth around 70,000 Australian dollars.
Look at this, a former politician here in Sydney has just revealed that when Harry toured an upgraded war memorial on that trip, there were rumours that she had asked if she would be getting an appearance fee. That's according to David Elliott. So a veteran's wife asking for an appearance fee?
It's sick, but it's absolutely how this woman behaves.
Then comes the weekend. Sydney, the Intercontinental Coogee Beach. Meghan's Her Best Life Wellness Retreat. Tickets start at 2,699 Australian dollars. VIP access reportedly hits around £1,705. That is the entire reason this trip exists. Run the funnel forward. Sick kids on day 1 generate free press and goodwill. Veterans on day 2 give institutional credibility. Aboriginal community visit on day 3 supplies progressive optics. The wellness retreat on day 4 cashes the whole thing in. The hospital wasn't the mission. The hospital was the marketing department.
No one wants to spend her best life weekend with Meghan Markle because they know she's a grifter. It's $3,100 for a VIP ticket, $2,700 for a regular ticket. If you pay for the VIP experience, she will give you a group photo All the VIPs can spend several $100s, and you just get a group. You don't even get a one-on-one.
And this is what I want every single viewer of this channel to understand. When someone visits a children's hospital on Monday and sells $2,699 wellness tickets in the same country on Saturday, those two events are not separate. They're a campaign. The visit creates the headlines. The headlines sell the tickets. That's how every commercial tour in history has worked. The only difference is that most tours don't use cancer wards as the lead-in act. Look, I could be wrong about the exact dollar split. The Sussex side hasn't published the trip's accounting, but the schedule is publicly documented. The retreat ticket prices are publicly listed. The keynote fee is reported. You don't have to take my word for any of it, just look at the calendar. The most damning part of today isn't what international royal commentators are saying. It's what Australian papers are saying, their own press, the country she's currently photographed in. Melbourne's Herald Sun, not a fringe blog, an actual mainstream daily, called the visit a faux royal tour to shore up brand Sussex. Read that again. The local newspaper in the city she just visited called the visit fake. The Sydney Morning Herald went further. They accused Meghan and Harry of treating Australia like an ATM, a national broadsheet.
Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been accused of treating their upcoming trip to Australia like an ATM. That's a cash machine.
That phrasing, then the public weighed in. A petition opposing taxpayer-funded security for the Sussex visit hit over 45,000 signatures the same week as today's hospital photos. That's not a fringe pressure group. That's tens of thousands of regular Australians saying out loud what their press already wrote in print. We don't want to pay to protect this PR exercise.
Sussex's soap opera has rolled into town. Mr. and Mrs. Grifter are here. And for what purpose? Because the last time they came, which was back in 2018, right, they said that this was the catalyst. They said it was the catalyst for leaving the royal family. And apparently, Meghan, quote, hated every single minute of that trip. So here they are, 8 years later, they've returned back to Australia for goodness knows what reason. And all I can put it down to be honest, is that they need money. They need a lot more money. I mean, Harry's just being sued by the charity he co-founded. Let's be honest, Meghan hasn't sold enough jams or dog biscuits over the last 12 months, and everything that these two have touched has been a complete failure. So the grifters are here for money. That's all I can put it down to.
A Spectator piece called it a pathetic cry for public love. Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams called it very dubious. And a palace insider, quoted via Emily Andrews in Woman and Home magazine, said something that should genuinely sting. Meghan is basically Fergie now. That basically Fergie line, that's the most accurate sentence anyone has written about her this year. Fergie was the cautionary tale Meghan was supposed to avoid. The duchess who monetized royal status without holding royal duties. The one who took the title to the bank because the actual job was too constrained. 8 years after Meghan's wedding, the palace insider closest to the family looks at her and sees Fergie, not Diana, Fergie. And that comparison didn't come from a YouTube channel. It came from inside the building.
They are using us as a cash machine. This is just a cash grab. They want to bring whatever it is that they bring. And look at it, they are no longer royal adjacent. They are not qualified psychologists. And as far as we can see, they aren't even the philanthropists they attest to be, because we haven't seen any donations.
The Spectator was meaner about it, but maybe more honest. A pathetic cry for public love, because that is what this trip is. The 2018 Australia tour drew massive adoring crowds. Today's reception was muted, controlled, smaller in every way. She came back to chase the high, and the press she came chasing turned around and called her Fergie on the front page.
What a spectacle and a shame. Even the great Elizabeth II and glorious Diana met the sick children at their bedside. I cannot think of another celebrity on earth who would demand the sick children to be lined up for an official meeting opportunity. Princess Diana would be appalled.
Okay, so where were we? Right, the watch. Because the watch is forcing a comparison that nobody wants to make today, but it has to be made. Diana didn't visit children's wards for 90 minutes once on a paid commercial trip. Diana visited the same hospital I'm talking about today, Royal Children's Hospital, Melbourne, in 1985. And she didn't visit it once. Her hospice and hospital work was a years-long, decades-long pattern. Some visits weren't even photographed. Some weren't on the official schedule. She'd sit in a chair next to a dying child for 40 minutes at a time. No watch reveal, no outfit shoot, no paid event waiting at the end of the week. She took her gloves off for HIV patients in 1991, specifically because the rest of the world was still treating those patients like contagion. That was an act of cost. There was no upside for her. There was risk, personal, social, family. She did it anyway. That's what made her Diana.
Why are children who should be resting in their beds, children with compromised immune systems, children in active treatment, being brought out to common areas so that two people with a camera crew can walk through and collect content?
Now here's the slow part, because I want this to land properly. Sit with the contrast for a second. The same building, the same children's ward, 41 years apart. Diana, 1985, gloves off, hours sitting bedside, no commercial tour at the back end, no wellness retreat to sell, no $1,250 sponsor dress, no $22,000 watch as the visual bait. Meghan, today, pool photographers in position, 90-minute schedule, Karen G dress, Dior pumps, Diana's watch on the wrist, and a 4-day funnel ending in Saturday's $2,699 ticket sale. Compare those two visits and tell me, with a straight face, that the woman who wore Diana's watch to Diana's hospital today is in Diana's tradition. She isn't. Diana's hospital visits cost her something. Today's hospital visit made Meghan something. Free press, brand laundering, a day 1 promo for a day 4 wellness pitch. Different math entirely, different motive entirely, different woman. The watch is on the wrong wrist. And somewhere, deep down, even Meghan probably knows it. Because if she really believed she was honoring Diana, she wouldn't need to keep wearing the watch every single time the cameras come out. People who actually carry someone's legacy don't have to costume themselves into it.
Harry and Meghan, at this point, represent nothing. They have no government representatives there. They have no money to donate. They have nothing that they can move in favor of actually helping people. In fact, the part of the official public statement from the publicist was going, they're there to listen. That's great. Listening's awesome. What can you actually do? I mean, why were staff members, patients, doctors dragged out of their offices, rooms, or whatever to parade around for two people who cannot in the slightest help them?
By 4 p.m. Melbourne time, the Duchess was gone. The pool photographers packed up, the PR team scattered to brief the next day's coverage. And on the adolescent oncology ward at Royal Children's Hospital, the nurses who'd held Lily's hand through chemo, who knew Anwara's spinal muscular atrophy treatment schedule, who'd been managing Joseph's leukemia for months, they went back to actual work. They saw the whole production. They will never tell you what they saw. Hospital staff don't speak about visiting royals, NDAs, hospital policy, careers. So you'll never get the first-hand account from inside that ward. But honestly, you don't need it, because the choreography spoke for itself. The 90-minute clock spoke for itself. The watch on the wrist spoke for itself. The 4-day funnel ending in a $2,699 wellness retreat spoke for itself. The Herald Sun front page spoke for itself. The basically Fergie insider quote spoke for itself.
They weren't happy, or Meghan, I would say this is her rather than Harry, was never going to be happy with just being a side character, a supporting actress, if you like, to use the analogy from her previous life, to Catherine. She was always going to want to be the leading actress in the drama of the royal family. Her ambition is such that she couldn't compromise, Angela. And as you will know, being an Australian and watching the royal family, being part of that gilded cage, living within that life, does require some compromise on your own personal ambitions, doesn't it? That's what she got wrong.
That's absolutely right. And it requires teamwork. It requires understanding the institution of the monarchy. And, you know, it's just ridiculous of her to have said that she didn't understand what she was getting into. She was massively supported, much more supported than Diana was back in her day.
This isn't gossip. It's a documented pattern with a price tag attached. And every viewer of this channel, especially those of you who watched Diana for 40 years, already know exactly what you saw on your screens today. The only thing left was for someone to say it out loud. So here's where I land, with zero diplomatic softening. Today was the most calculated children's hospital photo op I've seen any working royal, current or former, execute in my adult life. The watch was a tell. The 90-minute schedule was a tell. The 4-day commercial back end was a tell. And the named children on the official pool photos, Lily, Anwara, Joseph, Hamish, they were a tell too. Their privacy was sacrificed so hers could be protected. You don't get to use other people's sick kids as the opening act of your wellness retreat tour. That's not bad optics. That's a moral problem. And 45,000 Australians signing a petition against your security bill in the same week is the country telling you they noticed. Day 2 of this tour is happening tomorrow. Day 3 the day after. The wellness retreat itself hits Saturday. Every step is going to be photographed. Every step is going to be paid. We're going to be watching the full funnel close in real time, and I'll break down each stop right here on this channel as it happens. If this is the kind of analysis you want more of, consider subscribing, because this story isn't over, not even close. The watch was Diana's, the hospital was Diana's, the behavior was not.